What's going on? Colts Nation. Question. How difficult is it really to go through the draft when you're a GM, right? I mean, how many things do you have to continually think about and deal with? You know, outside information, people around you yelling at you, telling you stuff, phone calls, things of that nature. How difficult are the intricacies of actually drafting during a live draft in the NFL? We're going to talk about that and more right after this.
All right. So I guess now you understand what the plan was.
Absolutely. At Colts Law, we talk Indianapolis Colts football.
We're going to stick to what we know, fundamentals and technique, 1% better every day.
So, before I get started, I want to say thank you to Pedro51, Ant Rogers, Colts Nation, and everybody else that's watching live. If you're watching this afterwards or listening to it on the podcast, thank you so much. Please don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, tag that notification bell so you're notified. So you are notified next time I go live, because sometimes YouTube don't do that if you don't have all notifications turned on. Hey, while I'm here, don't forget, check out my Patreon, where for only $5 a month, $5 a month, you get all of my content plus some original content from other places and Patreon-only specific stuff. Don't forget, check out my merch shop right up here. The link is in the description. Same with my Patreon. I got a ton of stuff that you can go check out, man. A lot of cool stuff for good prices. That is the best way you can support me here on my channel. Alpha Wolf and Nano 505, what's going on? Appreciate you guys being here. So, hey, Feet for Fish, thanks a lot too as well. It's like Christmas Eve. Right? I mean, we got the draft showing up this Thursday. Oh, interestingly enough, I'm going to be part of something post-draft. I can't say what. I have been sworn to secrecy. But right after the draft, I will be part of something. And it's kind of big. And I hope to gosh that when I get this uploaded, after it's done and over with, that you guys will check it out. All right. Here we go. So, the NFL draft. It's crazy, right? Generally, when you're picking top 10, you generally kind of know what you're going for, right? Like, as Jaguars, you're walking in, and the only thing you're thinking of is somebody calling me to give me stupid compensation for the first pick of the draft. That's the only thing you're worried about, at least for your first pick. But, like, let's say you're picking anywhere between 15 on down, right? Or even 11 on down. The further down you go, the worse things get. But look at this. You have a big board that you're looking at. You got all these players in this draft that you and your scouts for your team have graded. And you've put them on a list. But then you also have needs, right? You have your list of needs that you need to fill. So you got to be thinking about that while the draft is going on. Plus, you got to deal with phone calls. Guys come, you're sitting here watching. Your pick is like 2-3 away, right? And you're watching, you're like, oh my gosh, do I need to move up, right? This guy I really like, is it worth moving up for? Phone's ringing. Hey, do you want to trade down, right? Here's our offer. Is it worth it to you? The whole time you're sitting there thinking to yourself, is my guy going to be there? There's so much that you have to sit there and think about and deal with as a GM picking in the draft that, I don't know, I'm surprised there ain't more mistakes. You hear guys like the GMs all the time say, man, we got the guy we wanted, right? But the question is that really the case? Was that the guy you wanted? Was that the guy that, you was like, if it falls perfectly, then that pick is the guy we wanted at that pick above everyone else? What if someone falls, right? What if you've graded this dude who you feel is a top 10 player, but he's not necessarily a need player, and he falls into the 20s, right? And you're like, oh my God, this is a special talent. He's going to be huge at his position, but he's not necessarily a need. Do you go with him, right? Or do you go, well, this guy here is the top guy I have. It's the man that I figured I was going to be getting at 21, right? Or 15 or whatever. But this top 10 player fell. Do I grab the top 10 player, or do I fill a BPA need at the same time? Even though that, one guy is massive. That's what happened, I believe, with Hooker a few years back, right? The Colts had, 15, 16, something like that. Hooker fell. He was supposed to be a top 10 talent. Probably actually is, just had injury issues. But he fell. And they grabbed him because he was BPA. Wasn't necessarily a need at the time, but they grabbed him anyhow. So, and then of course, like I said, you're seeing this top 10 guy fall. Your guy's still on the board. And you got 2 or 3, phone calls because other teams see that this top 10 guy is falling. And they're like, dude, we'll give you this, or this for your pick because we, and the only thing you can assume is they want that top 10 guy, right? So you got to make a decision. Is it worth, the trade back and the extra compensation to lose that top 10 guy, or possibly the guy that you're wanting to pick in the first place? And then you got to think, crap, what if it's someone in your division trying to trade with you? Do you want the guy that that's still on the board? Is there a guy on the board that you would be afraid to end up on that team? That's in your division that you'll have to face twice a year? Does that actually compute in your decision process? My goodness, it's a lot to actually kind of go over and think about, right? I mean, the stress. I could only imagine what the stress is like sitting in that boardroom, right? In your big boardroom during the draft. It'd be so stressful. Especially in the first couple rounds. In the first, day 1, day 2, very, very stressful. Day 3, not nearly as stressful. Because remember, you're also on the clock, right? You only have so much time to make a decision. It's not like you and I, and we're sitting here, doing a mock draft, and you got all the time in the freaking world, plus all these people, everything going on. We don't have that going on, okay, when you're doing a mock draft. You might have a timed mock draft going, but you don't have 31 other people and your job on the line, right? Because you got to remember, this is your job on the line. You screw up, and you could lose your job. I mean, that's just how it works. Ballard stated that multiple times where, last year when he talked about, everybody wanted the Colts to go grab a quarterback, right? Or this year, go grab a quarterback, before the Carson Wentz trade. We have to trade up and get a quarterback. And he's like, well, that's all fine and dandy to talk about. But if you grab the wrong guy and he's a bust or a failure, even if it's the guy that everybody, fans want, and he ends up being a failure or a bust, that's your job. The fans out here picking, their jobs ain't on the line, but his is. So that's something that he's got to really think about and realize he's got to do what's best for the team long haul. And that's why you hear a lot about trust the process. And I see a lot of people in this chat right now. I'm going to get into the chat here in just a moment. But You kind of have to. When you have a GM that has really hit well, then you don't have as many holes. We have important holes on the Colts, right? The Colts have a ton of important holes. Well, not a ton. 2 major holes. You got pass rush, which I'm not so sure that Ballard and Reich believe that pass rush is that big of a need, even though I think it is, and a lot of you do too. And then you got left tackle. Outside of that, need ain't nearly as important. Could we use an extra cornerback? Yeah. Could we use an extra tight end or another wide receiver? Sure. I mean, weapons are always important. Pass rush is always something that you could always grab. Are the Colts going to be hurt if we don't grab a tight end or a wide receiver or a cornerback? I honestly don't think so. I think we're set at starters. Could we use depth? Yes. God knows that depth is so important. We all remember Marlon Mack going down last year. We all remember Malik Hooker going down last year. 2 rookies stepped in, ended up playing well for at least half a season, right? Because we had depth at positions that weren't necessarily thought of as important needs, right? Because we had our starters set. We had the starters set at safeties. We had the starters set at running back. And yet, Ballard went and got 2 guys at positions that weren't necessarily need, but ended up needing them by week 2 on both positions. Terrence Gibson, thanks for joining the stream. Appreciate you. If you were Belichick, ooh, man, Belichick. All right. Which round would you draft a quarterback in? If I was Bill Belichick, it would depend. Okay? In all honesty. If I felt I had a perfect team around me, like I had good depth all around, I would go ahead and burn whatever I needed to burn to get a quarterback that I would want in this draft. If I felt there was a franchise-style quarterback in this draft available, right? That's just the way I feel. He obviously went out and spent a lot of money in free agency. He got a lot of depth across the board. Got a lot of star power. Question is there a quarterback in this draft that he feels, could be that much better than, say, a Cam Newton? Or Jared Stidham? Or even some of these guys out here that are, still available, right? So, if he felt that way, then it doesn't matter how much you spend to get him. You got to get him. If you don't feel like that, then let the board fall as it may. That's how I feel. If you don't feel that there is a franchise-changing quarterback that you have the ability to reasonably go up and get, let the board fall as it may. Nano says, in Ballard we trust? Absolutely. Absolutely. Trust your board, Ant Roger says. Rate your top 5 players in the draft of 2021. Colts Nation asks, Guy, Trevor Lawrence is up there. I haven't really thought about what top 5 guys on my board. I don't have a board right now. Okay. I go by positions. I don't have an overall board because I'm not a GM, and doing that would just be really rough on me. You got to remember, these guys who are doing this for these teams, it's their full-time job. It's what they do, right? And, they spend, they got, what? A dozen or so people sitting here making this board up with Ballard. You got Morocco and all them guys that, with him. So, yeah. They got a ton of people. It's just me. I can't sit here. I could go to some site and say, well, okay, this guy, then this guy, then this guy, then this guy. Pedro says, for pick and 21, have great options, edge at wide receiver. See, I honestly don't think that wide receiver is as big important of a need as a lot of people on the Colts feel. And you say that moving down is an option for more picks in the draft. It is an option. But I feel like it's only an option. Moving down in the draft is only an option if there is a game changer at a position of need, or an utter game changer, right, that falls on the board there. Don't just trade down to trade down. Everybody's like, well, it's like darts, right? You know, the more picks you have, the better. Well, think about this. Chris Ballard has been so good at drafting over his 4 years being here with the Indianapolis Colts. Remember what I said? We only have two real needs. Pass rusher, left tackle. Everything else is just depth. Currently. That's just assuming that Carson Wentz plays well. Everything else is depth. We got our 3 starting wide receivers. Heck, we got our 4 starting wide receivers currently this year. Right? Michael Pittman, T.Y. Hilton, Zach Pascal, Paris Campbell. Those are 4 very talented wide receivers. And I honestly believe that Michael Pittman could be a number 1. I think Paris Campbell could be a number 2. T.Y. Hilton is a number 2 right now, but could take over a game at times and be a number 1 when you need him. And Zach Pascal is a solid number 2 as well. So we got 4 guys that can play wide receiver 2. Starters. We got 2 good tight ends. Jack Doyle, Mo Alley Cox. Mo Alley Cox, I think, will get a lot more passes thrown to him than what he has the last year, because he won't have to sit back and block nearly as much, because Carson Wentz is more of a mobile quarterback than what Phillip Rivers ever was. Cornerback, we've got our cornerback set. Could we use more? Yes. Always use depth. But we got a lot of guys out there. Rodgers, Carey, Rhodes, Sin, and then, of course, Moore at nickel. Our starting safeties are set at Kari Willis and Blackman. Linebackers, starting linebackers. Can't count Sam as a starting linebacker because the Colts only go traditional formation. To have a Sam on the board only 30% of the time, 60% of the time, or 70% of the time, they either have nickel or dime out on the field, because this is a passing league. Could we use an extra one? Yes. Could we use someone who could be really good at that Sam linebacker? Yeah. But you don't consider him a starter. Pedro says, unfortunately, I think Kwity Paye will not be available at pick 21. No, but Jalen Phillips probably will be, and I would be ecstatic for him. I would be ecstatic if... Will Ballard grab him? I don't know. I don't know how he feels about, the concussion issue, but, I went through the concussion issue looking at it and realized that a lot of those happen at his previous school because of a car accident where he was hit by a car while he was on, a moped, and then had concussions afterwards, and then he had to retire for a while. Then he came back from the Miami University. Last year he played all year, the whole time, no issues. I think he'd be super fantastic. I'd be okay with him at 21. Terrence says, thank you for answering my question. Big fan of your show. Appreciate that. Don't forget, smash that like button, hit subscribe if you're not subscribed, and tag that notification bell. Turn all notifications on so that you're notified next time I go live or upload a video. It's going to be very important over this next week, man, as the draft comes down, and especially Saturday evening. I'm telling you, I'm going to be uploading something Saturday evening you're going to want to watch. Do we know anything about Phillips' medicals? If he's healthy, does he really compare to Paye and all the other guys? Yes. Okay, so I just gave you a little bit about his medicals. As for his skill, I watched his tape, and I think he's freaking fantastic. I think he's going to be... I really think he can be a game-changing pass rusher in the NFL. I like him more than Pay, believe it or not. Skill-wise. The thing that knocks him down, in my opinion, is the medicals and, his history with concussions. Your Feet for Fish says his best edge rushers, in his opinion, are Pay, Tyron Turner, and Smith. Okay. That's cool. I think Chris will trade back if his top 1 or 2 picks are gone, Jay Davis says. Then he'll get who's his top list of everyone's favorite players that he needs. I don't worry about Ballard. He's smart and he will do it right. Yeah, you can't really be worried about that, right? You can't really worry about, because honestly, there's a situation he might pick somebody in the first pick that no one even thinks about. What if he grabs a safety, right? What if he grabs a guard, right? Now, I might be upset if he grabs a running back. I might be upset, if he grabs a defensive tackle. A lot of people think we need a defensive tackle. I don't. I think Grover Stewart is solid. I think DeForest Buckner's probably the second best defensive tackle in the NFL. Our starters are there. We have Tyquan Lewis as a backup, right? He can be a tackle or an edge. I think our defensive tackles are set. I'm not really ready to call anything else depth when half the team is non-1-year contract, especially wide receiver and quarterback. They're still there. Michael H. They're still there. They're on the team. A lot of these guys are on prove-it situations. And they're on 1-year contracts because of, and I'll be frank with you, I honestly believe they're on 1-year contracts due to the lower team salary cap this year. Ballard's not going to give monster contracts until he knows for sure how much money he's going to have to spend over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Everybody says, well, the new, contract is up. There's going to be huge money, but they thought that there was going to be more money last year too, but then COVID hit and the cap dropped. Things happen. Ballard takes things for sure. But as you see, he keeps guys that he needs and wants. The only guy that the Indianapolis Colts have lost this year that I am really ticked off over, honestly, and I don't think it's because, it's a Colt situation. I think he just wanted more snaps because I don't think that he was going. I think he was going to be sharing a lot of snaps with Bobby Okereke, and that was Anthony Walker Jr. And I would have been a lot more happy if Anthony Walker Jr. made more than $3.5 million because I think that he was more of an $8 to $10 million linebacker. But COVID situation. Do I think JOK or Parsons fall to 21? Aiden Fitzgerald asks. If so, would you take either of them? Parsons. Inside the Horseshoe. What's up? Appreciate you being here. I do love me some Phillips, but you're right. The injury history scares me. I don't think... See, the reason why it doesn't give me as much pause as it does a lot of others is the time period between the injuries and now, right? He took a year off. He had that accident. He took a year off because of the concussions. Gave his head and brain time to heal. Then when Miami called him back, he took another medical. Doctor says, you seem to be perfectly fine. Played a whole year, no problems. So it doesn't scare me as much. Plus, just came out that the NFL, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, if that? The NFL now has position-specific helmets. And I think that's going to help a lot when it comes to concussions. Because they're going to be built specifically to help different positions on how contact is made to prevent future concussions at those positions. So that's a huge thing for Phillips. Huge. Alpha Wolf says, not in need position what not in need position do you see Ballard taking if a generational guy falls? Probably anything but running back. Any other position. If a generational guard falls to 21, you take him. Put him at right guard. Right? Then you got 2 generational guards. Tackle, quarterback, wide, even a quarter. Yes. Now, I don't see a generational quarterback falling because that's obviously, Trevor Lawrence, and he's gone. So you don't have to worry about that. Generational wide receiver, you take it. If he's a top 10 wide receiver and he falls to 21, you take him. A top 10 safety even, take him. Linebacker, take him. Doesn't matter. Corner, any position but running back. That's my opinion on that. BPA takes huge precedence if a generational player falls to 21. I don't expect a top 10 player to fall to 21. But if by some magical reason it does, I would not blame Ballard for taking him at all. Even if Phillips is there. And I believe Phillips is a generational pass rusher. Okay? Or he could be. He has that talent to become one, the potential. It's just injury history kind of worries me a little bit. And it's going to worry a lot of people. Zach says, interested to see what Marvell Tell does this year. Can't imagine that he sees a ton of playing time, but I thought that he showed a lot of promise in the first season for the late round pick, changing positions. I see him coming in on dime packages. I could see him coming in on nickel packages as a breather. Right? But you're right. Other than that, I don't see a whole lot of playing time for Tell. He played well in his limited snaps, but that doesn't necessarily... we'll see. We'll see. I'm going to trust the team. I'd love to see Tell succeed. I think he plays better man coverage than Rock does. Rock's a better zone guy. So we'll see what happens. Michael says he completely agrees on Walker Jr.'s salary. Yeah. A lot of people do. Jason David, what's going on? 2 more days, Colts Law. When are you going to start interviewing Colts players and personnel like Bring the Juice Cast? Or do they have an inside connection? Okay. Let me explain a little something between me and Bring the Juice. Bring the Juice. Okay, so I go traditional routes. I go through the Colts organization to try to get any interviews. Okay? I don't want to burn bridges in that manner. There are other ways of getting interviews by calling or contacting players or their agents directly. But that kind of ticks off the Colts organization and doesn't allow you in legit organizational situations. Right? You don't want to tick off the owner. I'm in a situation right now because I have been patient. Something is happening this Saturday. So, Jason, make sure you keep an eye on all my posts because I will have something this Saturday. Aaron asks, what do I think about Owen? I'm typically not a combine numbers guy, but wow, that 40 time is sexy. I'm not a huge 40 time guy when it comes to pass rushers. Any defensive lineman. You're not running 40 yards at defensive line. You're running 5 to 15 to 20 yards at max, generally. So that 20-yard split time is more important to me than the 40 time. Does that make sense? Now, always 40, you're right. Very sexy. But sometimes sexy isn't what it cut out to be when it comes to position. Go check out his 20 split. Jason Davis says tied in, take him. Marvell Tell might go back to safety. It's possible. I mean, after last year, when Kari Willis went down against Pittsburgh with a concussion, you've seen what happens. Our depth was not very good. I could see Tell playing that safety position. I could see Tell doing breathers for both safety and cornerbacks. Really can. Marvell Tell film room breakdown. Alpha Wolf says, maybe. There really isn't a whole lot of film. I mean, he had some plays. And I think I have one somewhere. Maybe. But it might have been early last year. We'll see. I will be at training. If training camp is open, and I may end up getting a media pass because I am on the Colts' good side. Not last year, obviously, because they didn't have a training camp, but the year before I was invited, and I went to probably at least half of the training camp. I will be going this year if it's open again, and I'll keep an eye on Tell for you. What are your thoughts inside the Horseshoe podcasts on Aziz Ojulari? The more you see of him, the more you like him. I haven't really gotten a whole lot of looks on him yet. I haven't looked it up. There are some players, even top 10 at their positions, that I haven't looked at because I have fell into a lot of other stuff. And remember, I have a side job now where at least I'm being honest with you guys. I have a side job where I'm the broadcast coordinator and live game commentator for the Indianapolis Express, the Indy Express professional basketball team. So a lot of my time now is cut up doing that. Like this past Friday and Sunday, I was busy doing all that stuff, and it takes up the entire day. So there's some prospects I don't know a lot about. Some prospects I know a lot about. David says, oh my God, that's a good deal. Cone deal probably more valuable than the 40 time for defensive end. Maybe. Yeah. But you also got to remember, a lot of things are important for defensive end, right? I mean, you need your bench reps. You don't want a guy who's only pushing 12 fucking... I just dropped the F-bomb. It's a good thing that I don't have to worry about that because it's past 2-minute mark, but my apologies. I generally try not to cuss. You don't want a guy who's only dropping 12 bench reps on the defensive line, right? There are guys in this draft on the defensive line that have dropped 12 reps. That's not a good thing. Okay. The 3-cone, that's kind of good. That shows a lot. That shows your change of direction ability. That's good for pass rushers. The 20-yard split, also a situation where I think is really good for pass rushers. Believe it or not, that standing long jump, I think that's important. I think that's hugely important because that shows how much get off you have from the snap, right? And I think that's hugely important. about how quickly and the burst that you have of coming off that line when the ball is snapped. David says, I would give Ballard a B+ for this draft if he gets my starting left tackle on a tight end, like Tommy Tremble. Okay, so let me explain something to you about Carson Wentz. I think the Colts have guys on the team that would be huge for Carson Wentz. Mo Alley Cox as a tight end would be huge for Carson Wentz. Big, long arms, monstrous hands, big body, great catch radius, good hands, and a big target. At tight end, that's what he likes. That's what Zach Ertz is all about. The only thing is, Mo Alley Cox, like last year for Phillip Rivers doesn't have the cannon anymore, right? Like Carson Wentz still has. Rivers can't move around and throw into tight spaces the way Carson Wentz. I think Rivers will use him a lot. Paris Campbell. I think Paris Campbell is going to fill a role for Carson Wentz at wide receiver that he hasn't had since the early days of just Deshaun Jackson. Okay? Early in his career when Deshaun was still explosive. A lot of people want to say T.Y. Hilton. Paris Campbell, my guy. If he can stay healthy, God, please stay healthy. Paris Campbell will lead the Colts in receiving yards and receptions if he can stay healthy. Yes, over T.Y. Hilton, over Michael Pittman. He won't have more touchdowns, right? But he'll have more receptions and yards. At least that's my opinion. From what I'm gathering from Film Room, he is the perfect receiver for Carson Wentz. Alpha says we're all adults here when coming to my F-bomb that I did earlier. Yeah, but we assume that. There might be 12-year-olds in this, you know. I don't want to do that. There's probably 8-year-olds that watch my stream afterwards, and I don't want to do that. Yeah, the same. Yeah, you're right, honey. My wife said those same 8-year-olds cuss too, but you know that's not for me to decide in the family household. That's their parents' decision. I just have family morals, and I don't like cussing in front when it has to do children possibly being on. Now I put this as not for children. This is listed as not for children, but that don't necessarily mean kids ain't watching it. Inside the Horseshoe says sometimes it slips, happens to him time to time. Yeah, I know. Alpha says, I wish I was like Rivers, dadgummit. David says, Cox doesn't line up halfback like Dallas Clark. That's huge. Cox was on the field literally for about 60% of the offensive snaps last year. Did you know that? He was the 6th highest snap count player on the offense last year, behind Phillip Rivers and the offensive line, you know, obviously. It's just he was held back to block so much. Aaron's laughing at me. Aaron Stackhouse. Of course you're laughing at me. I was laughing at myself a little bit. Do you see tight end being used more than the wide receivers? Views from the Triss asks. Hey, thanks for joining the stream, guy. Appreciate you. Or girl. I don't know. If you're a guy or girl, either one. I see a lot of 2 tight end formations. Because we do have a very solid run game. We got a very deep running back core, and we got 2 very good tight ends. So I think tight ends could be used quite a bit because both of our tight ends can go out and make catches. You know, they've proven it throughout their careers. They're both good blockers and catchers, which makes them difficult to cover. So yes, I could see tight ends. Maybe not as much as wide receivers because I really do think that our wide receiving core is deep. I mean deep. Especially since we got 2 receivers that are excellent blockers as well, right? Zach Pascal, Michael Pittman Jr., very good blockers out on the edge. Out there against their cornerbacks and stuff for, sweeps and things of that nature. So I think the wide receiving core could see a lot of that. Glad to see that the chat's actually moving a little bit. I got 24 viewers, I see. Please don't forget, smash that like button down here. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit the notification bell. Make sure all notifications are turned on. Check out up here, right? Right there is my merch shop. That's just one thing. It's a hoodie. But the direct link is right down here in the description along with my Patreon. So please go check it out. Seriously. Got a lot of cool stuff down there. Also, if you decide you want a phone case and it's not listed, put it in the comment section. The exact phone that you have. I've got lists of dozens of phones. So the problem is, I don't want to bog down my merch shop with all types of phone cases. Views as a guy, Julian Pulling 7 says, okay, cool. I would keep Cox. Jack Doyle's getting old. You can keep 3 tight ends. Jack Doyle's not that old. He's younger than a lot of other tight ends out here, right? I mean, he's still younger than Kelsey. He's still younger than, the guy from Philly that everybody seems to think that they want. He's not that old. Not for a tight end. Everyone thinks that tight ends, you got to remember, tight end, speed isn't the most important thing for a tight end. 30-31, that's starting to age a little bit for wide receiver because speed is an important aspect. Speed is not as much of an important aspect at tight end. Actually, experience and strength and blocking ability, in my opinion, is more important at tight end than speed. Now that the medicals aren't as trustworthy as they have been. Oh. I've asked about Caleb Farley dropping before, but do you think it's realistic now that we have a chance? Now that medicals. I like Caleb Farley. I don't know if we get him. Man, if he drops and we get him, I'd be perfectly fine with it. I've seen it. He's a guy that I would, let's say if Phillips and Farley were both there, I'd grab Phillips. And if Farley drops to pick 33, which I doubt would happen, I would have no problems Ballard going, let's move up to get him. But if there's no real pass rushers there, then yeah, I'd grab Farley at 21. How would you feel about draft, the trading back and getting a third and drafting Cosme? Okay. Julian Polling's asking questions. First off, I would not trade back unless there's someone there. If there's someone there that I want at 21, I would grab. I would be ticked off if Ballard traded back just to get another pick. The reason I say that is that the Colts aren't that bad depth-wise as a team. In past drafts, getting more picks was important because we had a whole team to fill. Well, he's filled that team. We have 2 needs left. Defensive end, left tackle, and a couple depth places here and there. I would be more upset if he passed on someone that he felt was special at a position just to get an extra pick. Now, that being said, if no one is special there and he does trade back, and by some magical way Cosme's there at the trade back, that's fine. But then that honestly, I don't see any good pass rusher in your listings. I don't see any pass rusher that's better than the pass rushers we already have on our team. That's the problem that I have. I actually have pass rusher more important than left tackle. Because I believe that even an above average left tackle, which we could get in the second round, is going to be heads over heels better than the backups that we had last year, right? We can't go by last year when AC went down because our backups were god awful, okay? So you can't go by that. If you have an average to above average left tackle to go sitting beside the rest of that really good offensive line, you got a good offensive line, right? That's how I feel about it. Wide receiver can't stay healthy. Doesn't matter how deep we might be. If they're not on the field, Waxer says. That's been the history. I can't deny that. T.Y.'s been hurt a lot. Paris Campbell's been hurt a lot. Heck, Michael Pittman Jr. missed a few weeks due to calf surgeries. I'm wondering why. I'm wondering if it's the artificial turf, right, on where they practice and where they play. It's possible. Notice a lot of soft tissue damage, and that could be also, last year you could blame a little bit of, not having preseason and training camps and OTAs and stuff for guys to sit with trainers and work out and stuff because they weren't allowed in the building until like 3 weeks before the season started. So a lot of that seemed to happen. And I don't believe this BS of the NFL saying, well, there weren't any more injuries last year than there was the year before, because I'm sitting here looking and I scrolled through and they just flat lied because I went through injuries and I seen 60% increase from last year to year before. A 60% increase in injuries. Soft tissue injuries, mind you. So they just flat lied to us. Anthony Hurt, what's up, Big Lawrence? What's going on, man? How long have you been covering the Colts? You're pretty up to date, knowledgeable about them. I've been covering the Indianapolis Colts via. Okay, so I've been a Colts fan since '84. Okay, I've always been a fan of them since they came to Indy. I've been covering them for 3.5 years. Started off writing articles, then went to audio podcast, and then doing video stuff, and now I'm doing my own thing. So about 3.5 years now I've been doing it. So I appreciate the question. Thanks. Anthony Hart says, love your room you're in. Jealous much. Okay. I get this about every other time I do a live stream, and I'm going to hurt your feelings a little bit, my guy. This isn't real. Well, I mean, it is real, but it's not my room. Okay, this is a green screen. Okay. Give you the same story I say every time. About 5.5 years ago, my house burnt down. Lost all of my memorabilia. I had a room similar to this. It all burnt down. I had no insurance on my house. I started doing these live streams. There was a guy who follows me, says, hey, I got a Colts room. I got a Colts cave. I'll take some HD pictures. I'll send them to you. You could use them. I said, thank you very much. And here we are. All right. So that's the truth of the matter. Colts Loyalist 5678. What's going on? Appreciate you being here. With OL being so deep this year, do you believe Ballard trades back and doubles on the OL selections? 2 chances at replacing Costanzo. I mean, it's possible. But like I said before, defensive end is also a very important position. Okay? We need to get that as well. I could see getting 2 offensive linemen, but I wouldn't see that second offensive lineman in the second round. 3rd, 4th, 5th, yes. I expect an offensive lineman either in the 1st or 2nd round. If he trades back, like I said earlier, I think he trades back because there isn't anyone that's overly impressive, like a game changer at any position at 21 that he feels. And there isn't a BPA need at pass rush or left tackle that is, sitting there at 21. And that's the only reason I think that he would move back and trade back. Otherwise, I honestly feel that he'll probably grab somebody at 21. But if he does do that and, that situation happens, I would not be mad. And I fully expect that he would do something like that because he's done it before. He's traded up in drafts. People always talk about trading back. He'll trade up for somebody if he feels that he is a game-changing player. I mean, he did it last year with Jonathan Taylor. And we had Marlon Mack, Jordan Wilkins, and Naheem Hines on the roster. And he moved up in the second round to get Jonathan Taylor because he was like, oh my goodness, this is a first-round talent that fell. We're going to get him. So, don't be surprised if that happens as well. The guy, M-Dub, Law, you always say what I'm thinking. Great minds, right? Great minds. I really think our pass rush drives off our interior pressure. We need depth behind Depot. Ant Rodgers, like I said, I like DeForest Buckner. Obviously, he's like top 3. I think he's second best, but he's top 3 defensive tackle. Grover Stewart, he's paid $10 million a year for a reason. He's really good at what he does. I actually think we have a backup that's not bad. There has been talk about, what about when Derrick Henry ran all over the Colts when Depot was out? That wasn't because that was bad tackling by the Colts secondary and linebackers. All right, that's why Derrick Henry ran all over us. It was really bad tackling. Darius Leonard got stiff-armed and trucked. Different players was getting stiff-armed and trucked because people tried to tackle Henry high, which is stupid. I've been saying that for 2 years. You don't go after Henry high unless you got him in the backfield. Once he gets that forward momentum, you got to go for the legs because he will truck your butt and keep on going. I don't think that there is huge defensive tackle. I think the defensive line in general in this draft is not very deep. Not just pass rush, but defensive tackle as well. Just saying. There's one guy at defensive tackle that I would take at 21 if he drops that far. That's it. I absolutely agree. Edge rush is 100% the biggest need inside the Horseshoe Podcast states. Yep, I do too. Got to make the imposing quarterback scared to play us. It's not just that. Okay? Think about this. And this is why pass rush is so important. It's Matt Eberflus's zone scheme. If you can't get pressure on a quarterback, then he's got that extra second or two to wait for his receivers to find the open spot in the zone. And any quarterback and wide receiver worth their salt is going to find open spots in any zone and eat you up. All right, and that's just how Matt Eberflus's zone defense, it only succeeds if there is good pass rush to force a quarterback to throw the football before he's ready. In man coverage, that's not such a big issue because certain players can get open quickly just off a quick juke or something. But in zone, it's different. It drives off the pass rush. Why do you think the Colts are always... The Colts actually have traditionally, since Matt Eberflus has been there, and since Matt Eberflus has been there, one of the worst pass defenses in the NFL. Completion percentage-wise and yardage-wise. because it's zone and it drives off of pass rush. Now, that pass rush with the zone accumulates to create turnovers, all right, and missed opportunity plays, bad plays on third down, drop passes, interceptions, things of that nature. Pass rush is so important in a zone defense. Julian, it did address Peyton Turner is good. His player comps are Preston Smith and Chandler Jones based on his relative athletic score. I don't go by the RAS. I go by film. Okay? A lot of people want to go by stats and RAS, and I understand the RAS is important. It's a good tool, but RAS, in my opinion, is kind of like PFF. It's okay, but it's not. It doesn't tell the whole story. I go look at the film, and I see who I think can be really that guy. And I see 3, maybe 4 defensive ends that would fit really well with the Colts and work right in that defensive scheme. Now, maybe your guy, Peyton Turner, ends up being that guy. That's fine. You know, that's cool. But film-wise, I'm more of a film guy than anything. My sleeper left tackle is Walker Little, Whitelaw. Hey, welcome, Whitelaw. Appreciate you being here. Thanks so much. 5-star recruit out of high school, hasn't played for 2 years. Yes, I know about Walker Little. Yep. Before his injury, would be a steal at 54. Yeah. I wouldn't have a problem getting him at 54. Left tackle has got there's so many good tackles in this draft that there's going to be guys at 54 or 44 where, you know, a position where the Colts might use their 4th round pick to go with their 2nd and move up in order to get a guy that they really liked. I would have no issue not having a 3rd or 4th round pick in this draft if they are able to fully lock down a pass rusher and a left tackle in the first 2 rounds. Because then I would feel as though the Colts would have all their starters locked down on the team. And then they could use later on picks, maybe trade back into 5th to grab an extra 6th and 7th round pick just to grab depth players. It's possible. I'd put money on the Colts trading back unless players like Darrisaw or one of the top 2 corners. See, I don't see corner as I don't see corner as a need. Now you're right though. If one of those 2 corners, I know them both, one of them Ballard won't pick because he doesn't have the draft profile that Ballard likes, but the other one does. And he would snatch him up quicker than heck. All right. But I don't see corner as a need. But anyhow, back to what you're saying, or a top 3 players drop. Ballard said he thinks they are only 5 or 6 different makers. Only 5 or 6 difference makers in the first. Yes. 5 or 6 difference makers in the first for our team that he would grab. That doesn't necessarily mean overall, okay? Just let you know. I like Adam McNeil out of North Carolina State. He's a freak athlete, and the Colts already have met him virtually. Ant Rodgers, the Colts have met 60-plus players virtually so far. Could be a solid 4th round pick if he's still there. Edge rusher. Oh, sorry. Okay. Edge rusher is number 1 priority based on weaker crop in the draft. Can find workable tackles easily down to the round 3 or 4. Feet for Fish says. I agree. Is my thumbnail blurry on purpose? Pat's Nation asks. No. I didn't realize it was blurry. I'll look at it again. If it is, then I'll fix it. I didn't notice that it was blurry. Thanks for being here, though. Appreciate it. Luke Neely, love your unbiased opinions on other teams. Great content. Always keeps grinding. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Terrence Cooper, what's up? If one of the two more ready defensive ends slips to 21, like Pay, that's a no-no to pass up. Yeah. I think if one of three pass rushers are there at 21, it's a no-no to pass up. Between Jalen and Gregory, who do I choose? I choose Phillips. I think he's got more upside, Pedro. I'm going to go ahead and jump to this. Pat's Nation, thank you so much for the super chat. We got Canadian money in the house, $6.99. I can't light it up, but you did see it show up over here. Hit the like button, support the second best football YouTuber on the app. They say that because Ray Rout is Dear Pat's Nation. I appreciate the support, my guy. Thanks so much. You know what? If I was the second best football YouTuber on the app, I'd be okay with that. Because that would mean that my subscribers would start rising really, really fast. I'm not going to put myself that high. Because I understand you're putting yourself higher. My boy right here, Dear Pat's Nation, he's got 6 times more subscribers than I have. 6 times more subscribers, and he's sitting here watching, chilling with me. But, of course, I'm going to be on his show, at 9 o'clock? So, good friends, good guy. Go check out his stuff. Pat's Nation said that's about 99 cents American. Pat's Nation says, hit that like button. Please smash that like button. See, I'm not afraid to ask to help support my analytics by tagging the like button down here, all right? Or subscribing, or hitting that notification bell and turning all notifications on. I'm not too low or too high to say, go check out my merch and check out the description, direct link to my merch shop, or check out my Patreon, where only $5 a month, and I stole that from Dear Pat's Nation, by the way, only $5 a month gets you all of my content. So, yeah, I appreciate you supporting. $5 ain't much at all. $5, you figure that. $5 is like, what? 2 liters of soda a month? And you get everything. And looky here. Kaboom! That's Brazilian. $16.90. Pedro 51. Thank you so much, my guy. We got a Pat's Nation guy. 2 Patriots fans have donated to my channel. Pedro, love you. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. That's awesome. This is why I love NFL YouTubing. Because even though I am a Colts guy, I cover all the NFL, and even Patriots fans come on to my channel and support me. Because I'm non-biased. I am biased, but I try to keep my biasness out. I try to keep my homerism out when it comes to breaking things down. Or at least, I do my best. I can't always do it, but I try. DPN says he's going to be rocking his Colts Law. Oh, he's going to be rocking my Colts Law gear tonight. You see that, ladies and gentlemen? That's right. He owns my hoodie. that hoodie, as a matter of fact. Only it's in white, if I remember correctly. I got a surprise for you, DPN. Guess what I'll be wearing? And I got a lot of Colts fans going to be sick. But hold on. I'll be right back. If you're going to wear that tonight, I guess I'll be wearing this tonight. Yeah. My DPN stuff came in today. My shirt. So I'll be joining Deer Pats Nation wearing a Deer Pats Nation shirt. His merchandise over on Teesprings. You can go check out his merch shop as well over on his channel. Go check him out. Don't forget, not only check him out, but make sure if you're not subscribed, go subscribe because I join his channel at least twice a week. Plus I do film room breakdowns for him. So there you go. Jamie Miller. Is there any prospects linked to the Colts which you are very strongly against and would be disappointed in? Yes. Yes. I hate to say this. The other defensive end for Miami, Greg, I see him as, I don't think he has, okay, I don't think he has the explosiveness to be that number one edge rusher, okay? I think he's more of an edge setting defensive end than a pass rushing defensive end. Which, I mean, every team needs an edge setting defensive end. But the Colts desperately need a game changing pass rusher. And I don't think that Greg is that guy. Okay? That's just my opinion on it. Whereas Phillips, I think, is that guy. Loyalist, do you believe we could use Patman in the Ebron role? No. I'm sorry. First off, I don't want the Colts anyone to use the Ebron role. That role is to get wide open and drop the football. Just saying. Just saying. All right. No, I think Des Patman is a guy I think that could be used. Actually, him and a couple other guys. We got some depth at wide receiver. Very young, fast, big guys. All right. That only played a couple snaps last year. DeMichael Harris is another one of those guys, right? I think Frank Reich is going to use a lot of different looks. And it's possible. But see, the thing about like the Eric Ebron, Trey Burton role is they're not blockers. So I don't understand why they were ever even lined up against the line because they weren't blocking anybody. They would step in the way of somebody, but they didn't even know how to put hands on somebody. I bet Patman is a better blocker than Eric Ebron, so maybe. But I don't think that he's a tight end that's going to be, I don't think he's a wide receiver. I don't think they move him to tight end. But I like that line of thinking. I do. I really do. That's outside the box thinking of moving guys in and out and around out of their normal positions. Zaven Collins is a guy that I feel like in this draft, he's an outside linebacker lined up, I think would become an absolute fantastic pass rusher at defensive end. He's a 250-pound linebacker with really, really good snap ability, taking off at the snap. I think he uses his hands well to get off blocks, and he's incredibly fast. I think he has the ability to become a pass rusher. Now, Does Zaven Collins drop to 21? He's usually mocked somewhere between, 19 and 26, I think. But I think people realize how good Zaven Collins really is. I mean, he is really, really good. Pedro 51 says the same thing. He is really, really, he is. He's a special. If the Colts got Zaven Collins on their team, he is basically Darius Leonard 30 pounds heavier. Darius Leonard is a 220-pound linebacker. Zaven Collins is a 250-pound linebacker. But fast and got good ball skills. Now, am I saying that Zaven Collins is Darius Leonard-like? Yes, but that's not his comp, okay? But it'd be amazing to have a Zaven Collins with Bobby Okereke and Darius Leonard on the team, because you'd have to have all three of them on the field at the same time. And I'd put him at edge, just because. Feet for Fish asks, have you looked into Jacob Harris from UCF? At all. Very intriguing to me in a late round. I've heard about him, actually. My boy Jake Arthur, I believe, was talking about him earlier in his stream that I was watching. So I think they had him, around 5 or 6. So yeah, it's an interesting thought process. That's something that could legitimately happen. Guys, make sure we don't drop any super chats, because I'm getting ready to jump off here, because it's been an hour and 12 minutes. I gotta eat and prepare myself for the stream later on with my boy Dear Pats Nation, DPN. Go check him out here if you're a Colts fan. Of the 22 viewers sitting here right now, please don't forget, smash that like button. Helps with my analytics so that this video gets out to more people. And then subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit that notification bell and turn all the notifications on. And everything else that I said. And until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. This is Colts Law, and I want you. Have a good one.
Just because a player's not a household name doesn't mean we can't make him a household name.